Hello. Good now to you, wherever and whenever you are in the universe and on this planet, this beautiful blue, gray, green ball of 8 billion. My name is Ryan Erickson. Welcome to BetaCodex Live here on the planet Earth. I am here today for the theme of Part 2, Optimize or Transform. Today, we're kind of going to take it in a more provocative direction, transform or else. And without further ado, the first person I will invite onto the stage is my willing partner, Niels Flaking. Hi, Niels.
Hi, Ryan. Thanks for having me again. for coping with me.
For coping with you, okay.
It's fun. It's always fun to have these conversations. And today we have this other person with us again.
Yes.
For the second time, and we're happy to have Drew back, right?
Yeah, the sequel to last week's episode with this gentleman here, Drew Weilich. Hi, Drew.
Hey, Ryan. Hi, Niels. Ryan, I'm going to practice with you. It's Weilager because I know the European audience is robust. And so I'm gonna go with the German pronunciation today.
My God, I didn't even ask. I'm so embarrassed.
No, it's all good.
It's all Weilager.
But hey, it's really nice to be back with you. I am tickled to be back for a second episode, and I think we're committed, at least at the start, to staying on topic today. We'll see how long it lasts, right?
Exactly. Drew Weilager, you just explained things right. You explained the concept. Weilager is really a very nice name, even in German.
Yeah, I agree. I know. You know the French pronunciation I go with sometimes is Weilager.
Weilager. That sounds like a cuvée or something.
Yeah.
Good wine.
Yeah, maybe happy hour, right? Yeah, that does sound nice.
Well, as we enter into this happy hour, or how long it is, so transform or else, kind of like a very impositional thing, right? Do this or else. You must transform or else. Why or else?
Yeah. Compared to the last episode, we wanted to take it up a notch.
Indeed.
Right.
Indeed.
Should I do an intro on optimize or transform distinction first, very briefly?
Sure.
What the background is, yes, what we discussed last time. It was this distinction, the two sides of the coin of organizational development, optimization and transformation. Those are the two. So it's an awfully important distinction in organizational development. You can either be in the mode of optimizing or transforming, working in the system, working on the system, or optimizing the system, overcoming the system. Those are the two sides of or the two masters of organizational development. Not often acknowledged that this distinction exists, but we discussed that it's crucial to have, well, at least if the world outside is changing, if institutions outside are changing, if markets are highly complex, from time to time you have to overcome the system, go into transformational mode. Mere optimization is not enough. We discussed also that we have optimized the hell out of command and control and Taylorism, and it has been quite obnoxious an effort for the last 40, 50 years, since I was born, to be precise, since the industrial age ended, arguably. When were you born, Drew?
In the 80s.
Oh, you're younger. Okay, so you were born in the information age already. I was born approximately 1971, approximately when the industrial age ended, supposedly. So, yeah, here we are. Industrial age, nobody remembers. Everybody who might remember it is dead or retired, so we shouldn't stick to Taylorism anymore. We discussed this a little bit. Drew, took us into that as well, and so we shouldn't be riding the dead horse of Taylorism, but we are stuck in optimization mode most of the time in organizational development. Now, these days, I think we touched upon this. Sometimes even the most incremental optimization stuff, we call it transformation because we can. So we have the critical distinction of optimization versus transformation. Working in the system, working on the system has been blurred, faded away almost. So we try to recover that. So here we are discussing it trying to go deeper into the subject. Yeah. Is that a fair sum up of what the topic might be about.
That's fair. Where I want to just put a little bit in there is that I have in my professional career, again, before I encountered you, Niels, it was all about agile transformation which is, kind of, it's, I don't know about a dead horse. It's a dead parrot, right? That's the thing from Monty Python, as we often say. So agile transformation, digital transformation, and then maybe in your world before we connected, it was lean transformation, probably still now.
Everybody's transformed all the time, right?
Or are they? That's what we're going to talk about today. So I may go into some of the specifics from my experience and why it goes there. But so, Drew, what kinds of transformations have you seen in your
I think just
career?
Illustrious is right. I think right off the top, the title of today's episode really reflects something I think probably Niels would say is, it's you don't really have a choice. Is that correct? Right? Like we don't have a choice, and the market has made the choice for us. And the reason that we need to organize in a way that supports beta is because there's more value to be produced when we work in a beta way. And I think for me it's having spent my illustrious career obviously in alpha organizations or command and control or Taylor-esque Taylorist organizations. The work that we often do gets coded as transformation. But I think what I learned last week is that unless you're working on the system, which is what we're trying to do when we make the transformation from alpha to beta, all we're doing is optimizing, right? And I think one of the stories that came to mind, Ryan, was working on a team that was building software inside of a Taylorist organization using agile methods to deliver that software. And it worked pretty well when we were doing work internally. But as soon as our work met any sort of internal, external force, if I can say that, so like other teams in the organization, what happened, right? We were reduced to waterfall methods immediately, right? Because the prevailing paradigm was such that that's how work was done. And so certainly our agile methods had some influence on the system and would move the broader organization to more of a agile understanding. You still were met with frustration because it never was agile and it was never going to be agile.
You can only be agile in beta or agile in beta.
There's a wonderful article by Stefan Wilunek called like that. Yeah, you can only be agile in beta, otherwise it's futile almost to attempt it. You will be. There will be so many boundaries, so many borders to your efforts.
Yeah.
And one might say the same happened with lean, with all the great lean approaches and lean efforts and well-intended lean projects that had the same fate. By the way, I was just reminded of a song that I like. I'm not sure if it's truly related, but I think I learned a piece of English from that song. The song is called "Is She Really Going Out with Him?" Do you know? Right?
Oh yeah, lovely song.
Joe Jackson, the name of the musician, Joe Jackson. The song is called "Is She Really Going Out with Him?"
Is she really going out with him? Yeah,
bam, bam. And in the second verse, I think it starts like, "Tonight's the night I'm going to that party downstairs. I wash my hair and I kid myself I look real smooth." It took me a long time to understand the second line of that. I wash my hair and I kid myself I look real smooth. And I think that's very much what's happening to agile and lean. We wash our hair and kid ourselves we look real smooth, we look real agile, kind of lean, right? Kind of agile. We go to these conferences and so we speak the language. Yeah, we say the words, as Daniel Mesick always says. And so there's it's seductive, this kid yourself. We fool ourselves into believing. And Yeah, and then there are obnoxious people saying, no, the BetaCodex, that's really where you have to get. Otherwise, you're nothing. You're just fuddling around, dabbling around. Yeah, and don't do experiments, because experiments are also dabbling in optimization. Yeah. So it's a hard thing to market. That's where this leads me to. Beta is hard sell. You cannot sell. As I always tell everybody who wants to listen, you cannot sell beta. People can buy beta, or organizations can buy it, but you cannot really sell it. Yeah.
This brings me, I think, right to the conversation, Drew, you and I were having before we're going, because this is the idea. Oh, how do we convince people to want this, right? And there's no convincing, and that comes back to me also because I was in this conversation, now on LinkedIn, that you can't get into a conversation about anything without noticing the command and control mindset, the swimming in the water of command and control, right? So I come in with this beta, think about what if we had market steered small teams with, federated, decentralized, all the things that we know about cell structure design, relative targets, and making that happen with open space beta. And I got a comment back that said, well, I'm not convinced. Like, you know what? It's not my job to convince you. And also, okay, well, not for you. So if there is not a willingness to transform, then there's, I don't like to say why try, because it's still, that's important to embody the language and be the language, and music here, sing that song that people will hear, like, dance to. And so the song of transformation, it doesn't always ring in folks' ears, and that's a frustrating place to be for a consultant, because I want this to happen in the world. I believe that we say everybody wants beta. Well, that's an assertion and a belief, right? That you hold, Niels. I know you said it, and I hold, and Drew, I wouldn't impose that upon you, but
no, we can impose it. Everybody wants beta. That doesn't mean that organizations will always be beta, or that they might not fall back from beta to alpha. It's not the same thing. It's that when we say everybody wants, I'm not trying to convince anybody, of course, Ryan. I'm just trying to add something.
Sure.
And we do not have to agree, right? As always.
Yeah. Well,
sorry, I have this annoying. I love to interrupt people. That's sorry, but so everybody wants democracy. Everybody wants to be a democrat. Everybody wants to be a citizen in a democracy. I firmly believe that. That doesn't mean that history is linear, or that when you are a democracy, like in the US, that you want to stay there, or are capable as a society to stay there, right? It might wobble. Stuff might happen. You might fall back. In Germany, for example, the first democracy arguably was destroyed by fascism, but it was, people elected the National Socialists, as they were called, the fascists. And similar things are currently happening in several countries. They are endangered. Democracies are in danger. I mean, take Hungary or so, stepping back from it, or Poland recently stepping back from it somewhat, now trying to recover democratic institutions. So I'm saying by no means that history is a linear process from bad to good, but the innate desire of the human being to develop a democracy, I think it's obvious. For me, it's obvious, that we want to be free, we want to have liberty, we struggle with freedom. As I think we touched upon that, right? We struggle with the acceptance of our own freedom. That's what the whole MAGA movement is about, right?
Well,
it cannot not be political, right? That's what many political movements in the West.
Everything is political, I think, in a certain way, but
And if we assume for a moment that everybody wants beta, the question is how to bring that about, how to create a revolution without a revolution, how to create a renaissance of beta in a way, in organizations. We know that it doesn't have to take such a long time. Certain conditions must be met, then it can be very fast. We know that kind of thing. But certainly I think the main problem that I believe, if I can talk about belief now, I think the main problem is that we are blinded by, there's a song, great song, Blinded by Science.
Thomas Dolby, yes, from
Thomas
our
Dolby.
youth.
Yeah, it's not blinded by science. We are blinded by command and control in a way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, we are addicted to it, or whatever metaphor we use. So it's tough to escape it. Drew, Ryan, what do you think? Or is this irrelevant? You can say something entirely different.
No, I think that what was resonating with me there it was summed up by that song I've never heard of. So I've got, I'm pretty sure I've heard the Joe Jackson
She
song
blinded
before,
me with science. You don't know that one?
I don't know that one.
So, it's a great song. You have to listen to it. Thomas Dolby.
Maybe it's right up Ryan's alley. We're creating a playlist for Beta.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
On BetaCodex Live. It's something impressive. But I think your idea there, Niels, of being blinded by command and control is often, I feel, what we're up against if we want to sort of create an enemy out there in terms of helping people convince them there might be an alternative. Because I don't think what comes along with that idea is the fact that you don't see an alternative, right?
Yes.
And we talked about this last week as well, but that working on the system is an option. It's an option.
Very well.
And
that's very Deming-esque. Very good. I love it.
Oh, that's good. I like that. My name and Deming in the same sentence. It's the same breath. That's good. But it is an option. I don't think everybody sees it as an option. And I was sort of thinking about it from a political perspective, which that's a hardy territory to get into. But a lot of times, what's happening there is actually work on the system, right? I mean, there's in democracies, often there's work that's happening on the system at all times, right? Yes. And I think that from a broader scale, self-management and democracy in organizations, I think that's an idea that people can sort of get their heads around. But I don't think that necessarily always comes with the idea that working on the system is an option in that environment. And I think that is critical to understanding that there might be a different way to do something in better ways.
Yes.
Ryan? To uncover better ways, maybe
uncover. Yeah. Discover. I know. Yeah. I know you got to be real careful with your vocabulary here. And I just want you to know, like, assume positive intent, right? Because it's hard. It's like when you spend your time, most of your time in Taylorist environments, that language, and I know, Niels, this is very important to you too. Language is so critical and important. And so you have to be very careful about how you describe things, because those metaphors that we use really, I think, point us down a path of belief as well. So anyway, Ryan, anytime you hear me use a Taylorist language, help me out. Yeah, exactly.
But this whole thing about assuming positive intent, there's another conversation I'm in there, is that, well, sometimes assuming positive intent will get you burned when someone is an asshole and is intent upon, keeping things the way they are because of the incentive. There are, as we say, bad actors that, they exist. And is there not one strategy, but it's important to recognize that. And are the willing bad actors? Is it possible to have someone coming into a transformation, if you're offering a transformation and they want to be a saboteur, right? And if someone wants to be a wrench in the works, what are some strategies for handling someone who doesn't have positive intent, a bad actor, a fly in the ointment? It does. Okay, I'm going to stop there, because a bad actor says something about
assholes.
A belief.
I call them assholes.
So there's a distinction, I think. What do you believe about human nature, and what do you believe about people, and that all people are inherently, good, or how did an asshole become an asshole, and what get out of my way in the transformation. It's that can be frustrating. So,
yeah, and Ryan, I think that even it doesn't necessarily have to be intentional sabotage from a sabotage frame either, right? I think it can be an intentional grab at power with understanding how things work now, and potentially seeing an opportunity. However, as the practitioner of Open Space Beta is on the call with us today, a practitioner, I should say, of Open Space Beta is on the call with us today. It would be interesting to hear how he deals with assholes.
How to deal with assholes?
Well, in the transformation environment, yeah.
I mean, that's certainly a lesson that I personally learned from John Cotter's work. In his famous novel, Our Iceberg is Melting. Do you know it? Have you read it?
Oh yes. Yes.
He has this
the double helix of change. It's
exactly.
You have to study it. Yes. Yeah.
Oh yes. That's part of the
pre-2018
of the canon to know.
The canon. Yeah.
The holy
yeah. Well, I'll just for the audience that doesn't know, that Cotter and then the transitions framework is a very helpful way to understand what's happening with change.
And this DNA structure, it's in the Organized for Complexity book for those who haven't read it. It's worth reading the book, and there's a reference there to John Cotter and his work. And I think one of the I learned many things from that approach. From the 1990s, leading change, as he calls it, is that in this story, there's one penguin in this penguin story. Our iceberg is melting. There's one penguin he calls No-No, right? And of course, the question is always: is there really always a no-no? How many no-nos, etc.? There is always one, at least. That's our answer. Scientifically based. All kinds of evidence point to that. There's always a no-no. Somebody who just has opposed interest, and that doesn't mean that person resists change. That person just wants something different, like power or fading away or being sent to Madagascar. And that's one of the suggestions that we have made in our work. That of course you cannot convince anybody. You cannot convince the no-no, the person who doesn't want to. You shouldn't kill that person because that would be against the law. But what often is an option is to send that person to Madagascar. That's what we write in the book. I think, yeah. At some point we said that person should be sent to Galapagos, but we don't think that's fair with the animal life. So we think Madagascar, that's just spices and so on. Nobody knows what's in Madagascar. Well, supposedly. Animals as well. And so send that person to a place far, far away, which is in a way a metaphor. It doesn't mean either to kill nor to send physically the person away, but to remove that person from areas of influence. That's certainly necessary in most cases.
I want to bring
and agree to separate. Yeah, because you cannot transform the assholes. You cannot convince them. You can invite them, and at some point there must be some kind of... And I mean, not all these no-nos are assholes. Maybe I should be specific about that. Some may behave like assholes. Some might simply have very different interests, like power, for example. They may not act like assholes, but they might have totally different interests, and then it's good to say goodbye. I always like to say, just to make sure that no misunderstandings happen. In a beta transformation, people can leave, and that's fair and well, because in alpha organizations, good people leave all the time. It's guaranteed. People always leave. Some people join, some people leave. So it's no big deal if a few no-nos leave during all. Get a good deal to quit, or some deal to quit. That's okay, right?
Well, I wanted to bring one thing in because this plays exactly into a future topic that we have about the new research paper on Open Space Beta.
Exactly.
That pattern number 6 of the patterns, let's just preview it a little bit, is that those unwilling to get involved in the change work stay the way they are for the time being.
Yes.
And that is something that was discovered in the transformation work, right?
It's quite subtle. It's articulated with some subtlety, I just noticed. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there is some
And
double meaning in that, I think.
yeah, and I want to read the other. I would put up on the screen if I was prepared to do that. But the first paragraph, there's individuals who are not interested in contributing to the transformation and who decide not to actively participate in the process for whatever reason will usually voice the same questions and concerns towards the end of the transformation as they do at the outset of the process. And here's in bold, these players will typically make little or no use of offers for discourse, learning, and cooperation. Here, worldviews and worries dominate instead of questions, and opinions matter a great deal instead of reflection. Right?
It's a choice. It's a free choice, right? How to behave in the face of organizational transformation. Some actors, some players opt to not go with it, literally. Yeah. Not literally, but not to go with it. Not to.
Not to go out with him. Not to. Is she really going out with him?
Exactly. and these people, these individuals, these no-nos, as John Cotter would say, they always show themselves. That's a good thing. In the little story by John Cotter, the no-no penguin, for example, he always says, and it's a white guy, older white guy in the story, like penguin, right? That makes no sense. I'm just saying that as a joke. It's a dude, and he's older. That's what the story tells us about that penguin. And he always voices that he thinks that shit. So it's a fair deal. At some point, either you accept that a beta organization is different from an alpha organization, and it's a different game, and that it offers chances and opportunities, and it always has a cost in a certain way, right? A beta organization has a cost that you have to accept your freedom, and some few individuals might not be to that, and that's fair enough. You shall not force anybody to swallow anything, right? So
there's another metaphor.
No,
well, and I think probably this might be a similarity between alpha and beta organizations, right? Because those no-nos exist in any environment.
Yeah.
Right, and they exist in no-nos exist in optimization efforts as well.
Oh yeah,
mislabeled optimization efforts even. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, they
mislabeled transformation.
They have an easy
efforts.
game. That's a main point, I think, that you're touching on. An alpha organization, alpha organizations are the perfect environment for no-nos.
Yeah.
They sometimes even get promoted, or they might become, there's so many places where you can place them. And in beta, you must be more consistent. You must be more consequential instead of acting bureaucratically and putting. In German, we have this expression: somebody's so nasty, you turn him into a breakfast director. Does that expression exist in English? Breakfast director of breakfast.
Yeah. But in the U.S. we don't have breakfast at every hotel as part of the.
So how do you call them? These positions that are nil and void.
Yeah, they're bullshit jobs. I think that's what David Graeber would say.
But you promote them there. You just tell them, now you are a director of
projects.
It's almost like the Peter principle, right? Someone is promoted to the level of their incompetence. I wanted to, so you're reminding me of something, another metaphor to bring in. We're talking about that this optimization bit, putting on the makeup, making your hair real nice, having great clothes, and the people who are the best at looking real sweet and sharp are the great optimizers. But the transformation part of it is taking off all your clothes and showing the world, this is okay. I have to completely redesign my wardrobe. I have to go from this style to that style and it's flipped. I got to flip every piece of what I'm wearing and it really, again, I don't know, examining in public, like we're nudists as in the BetaCodex, but I think there's a book by someone you don't care for, Getting Naked. I think it's a Lencioni book, something like that. Again, I don't remember, but I remember that phrase. getting naked. I'll look for it up here and see if it's anybody. It's
Do you have a
probably
song
bullshit.
to connect with this one?
Oh.
No, I'm sorry. Don't let me take you away from your point, Ryan. I apologize.
No,
for that.
but the point is that to bring the visceral nature of transformation, and I think this would be a thing.
Yeah.
When you just want to
Yeah.
put lipstick on a pig or whatever, or do you want to make a ham
Yes,
sandwich?
that's optimization.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
That's optimization.
Yeah.
Yeah, and with the new look, right? You need a new attitude. And you know, that's the challenge.
That's
right?
a song.
Yeah. Oh, is it?
Yeah, Patti LaBelle, New Attitude, right?
New attitude.
I do not know that one. Patti LaBelle, I know, but not that song, I think. Okay.
Right. But yeah, you turn, you're either ZZ Top and Sharp Dressed Man, or you're Patti LaBelle with the New Attitude.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and so let's say that your new wardrobe is ZZ Top inspired. You know, like you're gonna have a little ZZ Top stage presence to pull it off.
And yeah, and the beard, growing the beard is very important. No, but this reminds me of William Bridges' approach managing transitions, where he says that in order to, beyond the metaphor of changing your clothes or your style of dressing, in his book he has, does he have this? Yeah, I think he has this example of quitting smoking, which takes an awful lot of time, because it's not just about the artifact of not smoking, but you have to change a lot. Maybe you change your spouse or your friends or your, what you do or so. Yeah. Because you might not be able to quit smoking without making other changes. Yes, and there is this stage of the neutral zone, which is the biggest stage of the change, where you get kind of disoriented because you really have to try out new patterns. So this. And this is the problem with transformation. Of course, you have to first end something. That's how William Bridges begins the process. The process begins with ending the previous stage, entering the neutral zone then, and the neutral zone is the biggest thing, where you really have to try out, learn, practice new patterns and so on, change your life in that case of quitting to smoke or changing the organization. And we try to make in open space beta, we try to make the neutral zone as compact as possible, as dense as possible, so that everybody has to enter the neutral zone almost at the same time. And the clarification can happen quickly because everybody's joining. That's one of the concepts of open space beta, is you start in open space together in open space. 90 days later, you end the period of 90 days with another open space, so that you invite everybody and thus force everybody to join the neutral zone very much at the same time and pass through it quickly, do the go live in the 90 days of the new structure and so on, so that it gets manageable, instead of slicing and dicing change, and rolling out and kicking off and all this shit that makes
managing
change take forever, and analysis and all this other kind of bullshit.
Creating a plan, and following the plan and monitoring,
creating a plan and milestones. Yes, and assuming it will take years, so it takes years. So transformation requires going through the neutral zone. That's going through a period of certain disorientation, unlearning, many people would call it, but that's bullshit as a metaphor, I think. But changing their belief systems, changing assumptions, questioning their practices, questioning tools, getting rid of certain tools, organizational hygiene, adopt a new structure together, and then practice that.
Well, what is changing the system in a certain way? I mean, you're changing a habit structure, a system of habits, multiple habits. So the habitual actions, the doing that was happening in alpha, that those are particular patterns and practices. And we meet here, we report these reports every 2 weeks. We do this. We go into our Scrum meeting, our daily Scrum meeting, go, I did this yesterday. I did that. I'm doing this today, and I have no blockers. I did this yesterday. I'm doing this today, and I have no blockers. Reporting to the manager. Now, those are habits. Those are events that occur. They're rituals in a certain way, right? So then this is, I think, where I'm thinking habits and rituals are the flips, right? That you take away the bad habits, right, and judging them as bad, and then you do a lot of flips and habit changes in this forced time box, and that creates a sense of energy and, oh my God, what's going on? This is the liminal space of that, and there's activity. And when you do it with the whole system, right, that creates the sense of communitas and camaraderie, and we're all in this together, with us, for us, right? This is Folletian change instead of Taylorist forced change. So that, I think there's this idea of we're inviting to change habits together, creating common knowledge out of this whole system change, as opposed to this Taylorist marching in order and reporting up to the powers that be of where are you with the change? Are you red? Are you orange? Are you half green? Are you 2/3 green? And then all that kind of stuff.
Interesting that you talked of habit changes twice in what you just said. And I would not personally, I would not say it like that. I would say change the system, then habits will change. So you do not do habit changes, and it's no this game of declaring, I will change this and that habit. I will write it on a poster that I will be co-collaborative from now on.
That's a
flip
bullshit
the system,
habit, though.
then the habit change will. Yeah, that's the slightly. I would put it a little differently.
Well, language is important, right? Then it's part of being able to translate. Maybe this is part of the inspiring versus convincing, right? And it's something to really want it, and that so we say these things to inspire, and learning the language, the native language of what's happening in the organization. And I think the initial 45 days before the open space beta cycle, it's partly about teaching a new language or offering the opportunity to learn a new language.
Yes, get into the mood. Yes, start to understand the concepts. Get into the language. Very well put. Yeah. Drew?
I think that, I mean, like from a language perspective, it comes down to developing the shared understanding, right? Mm-hmm. And when I say something, you know what I mean, and when you say something, I know what you mean. And that's a challenge. It's a challenge, and I think that probably is even happening here with like the system change or the habit change in some ways. I bet, if we got into a room and had a whiteboard and you came from your perspective, Niels, and Ryan came from his perspective, we probably would identify that you were coming from similar places. But it's just sort of developing that shared understanding as a group.
This is about unity versus uniformity too.
Sure.
It's about integrating what I care about, what Niels would care about, and again, creating this shared pool of meaning, but not shared values, because that's imposition, right? So we're not going to say we shall value this. We, the big we, right? So it's
unity, not alignment.
Unity, not alignment. Agreement as opposed to alignment. That kind of. So language is important.
Yeah, there's so many interesting words and word differences to clarify. By the way, language. Yeah. I find LinkedIn more annoying day by day because the language degrades ever more. Do you also experience that?
Yeah. I think as someone who's seen other social channels just sort of deteriorate into places I don't want to be any longer, LinkedIn is where I'm spending more of my time, and I will find things that help me think, but I also I feel similarly as when the glory, the end of the glory days of Twitter, where I'm like, this doesn't feel good, it's just like, oh, this is work. True. But I know there's good stuff in there, and I admire you.
Where is it?
Because you're actually trying to create a conversation in the comment section on LinkedIn, and I'm fairly certain. I'd be interested to hear from you if your experience has been that you've actually had any good conversations in the comment section on LinkedIn.
I always think the two of you have to try it again, right?
Well, just say the two of you had a great conversation.
But I think that is because Niels and I had met previously. And obviously I consider myself fairly well read on Niels's work. So, it promotes a conversation when I think, the the industrialized leadership development world or the industrialized organizational development world has methods and models that everybody swears by. And when you're trying to sell something, it's hard to give an inch to say that someone else might be right with a little bit different of an idea, because it might not help you you might see it as not helping further your mission.
Well, I don't care because it doesn't help me get my bonus. It doesn't help me make my numbers as a
right.
partner.
Well, that's why we're here, right?
Because my incentive is to sell this fucking shit as soon as possible to get the biggest profit, so I can sell juniors from McKinsey on the front floor who came up as newly minted MBAs, not knowing a damn thing about anything, to actually run the transformation, not know, and then have a gray hair like me on the ground telling them what to do, when to do it, and reporting up to the senior partner who's greasing up the executive for what may happen in the back room. So that
I think part of the I will try to relate this back to our topic, right? I think what happens on social media.
We tried.
Something we try over and over.
That's me.
In the glory days of Twitter and in the better days of LinkedIn, I think we all had the dream that some actual learning would come out of this. That you could have actually discussion or conversation with people you would never connect to before, and it happened.
It was cool when it happened, wasn't it? It was world changing when it did happen.
I felt so. Yeah. I got in touch with several very interesting people who might.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
Not that they were necessarily lasting relationships, not that, but
maybe or ideas. Maybe even more importantly, ideas. I'm sure that I was exposed to organizing for complexity because something someone posted on a social channel somewhere. That was good for me.
It works.
It does. It gives and it takes.
But today, I think nobody seems to have the expectation of learning something properly. Have the mind blown, so to speak. The same degradation, I think, that's happened in social media happened with stuff like TED. Where at a certain point we had the expectation each of these sessions will blow my mind. Even when we saw Simon Sinek saying something totally dumb and imbecilic, we thought, oh, this might be paradigm shattering for me, and we like to believe. For 20 minutes we believed it was. Or Malcolm Gladwell talking about ketchup. You remember that? We wanted to believe it was dream come true. We wanted to have our mind blown, and we believed it would happen. Of course, nobody has this expectation anymore. Of course, this is part of the business model. The business models changed in all these social media websites, some earlier and some later. In Germany, for example, we had this amazing social media site 15, 16 years ago. Xing, it was called. Xing.
Xing?
Yeah, well, Xing.
Xing.
They went bad before the others. Bad. It became so annoyingly boring and stupid and driven towards a certain business goal, which was recruiting annoyingly. So it didn't. It started not to make any sense. First, they killed the channels or groups or whatever, And I had invested plenty of time in building a group that was substantial. So and that was killed off, just killed off. And so that's what we get. But I think taking it back again. Do we want to optimize? It's also our expectation, I think, that governs what's possible. Do we believe? That's why I keep trying to get you to believe in transformation. Drew, for example, in some of our exchanges, I try to kind of you must believe in it, which is stupid, of course. Yeah.
Last week was very helpful. I think it did contribute to my understanding, and I'm fairly certain I'm fully on board with the idea that transformation is working on the system, and optimization is working in the system. So I think it's been successful. But I think the challenge, and Ryan and I were talking about this a little bit before the call too, is I guess okay. So here's how I want to frame my question: is it possible? And I'm fairly certain I know the answer. But is it possible to be a unit, a team, a group, a department, within an alpha organization and do a beta transformation in with that group?
Okay, what's your great question? Possible? What's your answer to it? Or you have three options?
I think the answer. I alluded to the answer when I talked about agile at the beginning. I just don't think it's. I don't think it's possible. I mean, some of it can be right, but the prevailing the prevailing system of organization is going to influence you, right? So like, okay, maybe you want to organize in a beta function and fashion on a team, but then if your team or if the organization's budgeting in traditional ways and planning in traditional ways and operating human resources in traditional ways, you're never fully going to be able to get there.
Sure. Okay, that's the obvious answer. Now let's dig deeper.
Please.
What are the other less obvious answers? You're totally right about that. That answer is fully correct.
Is that a way to poke
what
the
if
system?
The opposite is also true? What would be the opposite?
Yeah. Well, the opposite would be that's where the transformation begins.
Okay, I would like to try another opposite. Can you give me another opposite?
I feel like we're playing Family Feud and we have the strike.
No, what if it's not worth it? To change, to transform the department or the silo or whatever you're thinking about, or the business area or the HR department or so, it's not worth it. I would, as an advisor, I would tell you, no, it's not worth it.
Not worth it. Yeah.
Why? No, let me frame it differently, but the same thing. I would tell you, then you are an asshole.
Because you're imposing change.
No.
Nope.
Did we ever discuss this, Ryan? Not sure if we ever discussed this.
Oh, God, it's been 43 episodes, man. I've got to figure out how to discuss that.
We had other conversations.
3 or 4 times.
Oh,
I have the memory of a goldfish.
I know.
So.
This would have gone so much better if we'd have known the answer right off the bat, right?
We could have studied for the test and done really well.
That's not what I meant.
A from the teacher.
That's not what I meant. I didn't mean. Did we already discuss this here? No, but did we ever have this conversation, Ryan? That's what I mean. Me as person, people. Did we ever have this conversation? So is it obvious to you what I mean when Drew asks, can department or silo or function or bit be transformed?
You're asking yourself the question. You don't believe yourself. I think that's part of it. That if you're asking, if you're saying, can this happen? Well, of course it can happen. It gets down to that. At least as I recall the conversation is that, well, if I don't think it can happen, how on earth am I going to be inspirational or a kind of a master of ceremonies? How can I be a good master of ceremonies to the sponsor if I'm always doubting? If I'm doubting that this can happen, so that's one thought. Again,
yeah. Another one.
Oh, fuck.
Oh, we just got demonetized again.
We don't make a dime from this. So other than the consulting work that will roll in.
Okay, here's another one. Another one is, of course you can. You just need encapsulation, as we call this approach. You have to create a capsule around it and create an island of happiness. You can do that. It happens in all larger organizations. Those islands of happiness exist. Happens. Many large organizations have beta-like islands of happiness.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They even might have real Scrum going on an island of happiness, and somebody's
but no one else is worth it.
But that's the second question. So you can do it. The question is, are you an asshole if you do it, and why?
Yeah, because these people are good enough to have beta. These other folks, they don't deserve it.
Exactly. If you are an islander, aren't you an asshole? Oh, we have our island of happiness. We have our capsule. Fuck everybody else. Oh, this is bad for monetization.
No.
Screw them. Screw them.
Yeah. Bleep.
Is that better?
Bleep everybody else.
Screwing is more.
It's fine.
Slider. Yeah. So we have our island, our project, our department that's cool, and everybody else, they can suck up command and control bullshit. So then
these are the innovation teams, right? The innovation units that emerged. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
and there are always smart people in every organization that look for those islands of happiness. There's some smart people having project careers or whatever they do. They jump from island to island. Somebody. So they have that. There's certain people who have that ways of escaping the tyranny of
self-preservation, right? I mean,
yeah.
Seems like a good strategy.
Yeah.
Self-preservation. That's a good
Totally,
strategy.
totally.
Yeah.
But it's much better to have an organization that isn't screwed, right?
Right.
No? It's like when somebody comes up, and it always comes up in my keynotes, for example, or workshops. This question always true that you asked. It always comes up. Can't we just transform? And wouldn't that be good?
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be good? That's another song. And I always say, then you are.
That was on tune as well. Very impressed. Very impressed.
We're both bass players, so we know.
It's the music. It's the music connection.
It's the music. Lots of British music that I like, by the way. So, and I always say, then that's like in Germany after World War II, we say, the north of Germany gets democratic, but the shit Bavarians who are extremely fascist, we split and they stay fascist, forever. Fuck them.
Yeah.
And no, the Americans, thank you, America, and the other allies, they try to keep the thing united for a while at least, and create a democracy everywhere, at least in the western part. And they tried, and denazification, that didn't go well. So we try to never leave anybody behind. In beta, the idea should be, why not go beta all the way? And the real question behind your question, Drew, might be, why do you think it's attractive to decentralize or to beta-fy or to transform just a department or a function? That's the interesting question.
Yeah. I have an answer. My answer is because that's what you have authority over, right? So I think in a lot of ways, isn't this what a lot of leadership development programming is, right? How do you as a benevolent leader inside an organization that might not be so benevolent create the conditions so that people can do their best work? And I think a lot of those ideas are borrowed probably from self-management or from beta in some ways, right? I think those.
No, they're related. They come from the same.
Yeah, and
it
goes back
to
it goes back to our optimization transformation conversation. But that's where I see it, where it's okay, I see something's wrong. I want to fix it. I'm going to fix it within my zone of control.
Yeah.
In my zone of control as a VP of logistics, or I don't know, VP of organizational development, or VP of whatever it might be. I have control over this group. IT, yeah. IT probably is where it happens a little bit more often, right? Be just from trying to deliver software in an agile way inside of alpha organization. Anyway, that's why it's attractive to me, because otherwise it's kind of like I'm helpless over here. I'm gonna just try to convince people to make the beta transformation at the top, or whatever it might be. So that's where my curiosity comes from.
Yeah, so your curiosity comes from giving up the belief that your senior executives at your organization want beta and could want the transformation.
Yeah, right.
Or you want to hide. Or you hide. You don't want to risk your status by.
That's not so friendly. We are calling off.
By making. Well, it's about saying I believe in this. I believe in this for the people we have here. I believe that this will be overall good for us as people, for our customers, and kind of this stuff. And to be able to say that unequivocally, and because a person, the first one, I really, 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 really want it. And so that's my thought, because if you don't, I'm kind of afraid, because maybe I'll miss my bonus this year if I don't hit, because I don't know. I'm walking into the unknown, blah, 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 and that I'm gonna sit over here in my department and do that, and everybody else, and they're not good enough.
I think the problem is a little bit bigger than that. Ultimately, isn't everybody thinking, in my zone of influence, I would do everything. I want to see something different, but I cannot trust the others. I cannot trust that others also want it. So
because you and I want the same job. We want our boss's job when he retires. All three of us, you want that. That's a status change.
That's not what.
What you're saying.
That. So no, I think the thought that I wanted to suggest is a little bit different. It's this phenomenon that we have been observing this over and over. In alpha organizations, everybody is secretly smart and collectively dumb.
Yeah.
So everybody says, in my area, I'm doing the best. We are very self-organized. I'm a very oh my god, transformational leader or whatever shit the organization has done. So I'm that. I'm super liberal, agile, lean. But the others, and then you talk to the other managers. That's why it's so futile to do organizational analysis as well, because everybody will tell you this narrative that no, I got it, but them, they, and my peers, they're no just. And so you could interview everybody in the organization. Everybody is very enlightened, secretly, but together they are playing the old command and control game. So you never know what's true and what's not true, and so that's why you cannot. These leadership development programs, they only probably aggravate the problem, I think.
Yeah.
There's no way around working the system, I suppose. You can create islands of happiness if you have power and if you can shield your area of influence. You can do that, but the question is, for what? For what? Because
what happens?
Yeah.
What happens when you go away? What happens when
Exactly. It will always depend on the person shielding.
Yeah. But if you're there for 5 years or whatever, 10 years, 20, 40, whatever it might be, maybe you become CEO because you've been so successful. But I think that you probably have created an environment where people enjoy coming to work, and I think that is beneficial. I know that we don't often talk about value, and maybe in an engagement perspective or a job satisfaction perspective or whatever it might be, but you probably create an environment that people enjoy, and I think that could be beneficial in the short term.
Sure. Yes, absolutely. That's optimization.
That's fair. I'm fine with. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
That's
I'm satisfied. I'm satisfied with that frame.
Of course, and that's fair enough. It's not. We're not discussing the ethics seriously here, but yeah, the ethics exist, because the question is always, why don't I believe in more? Why?
Yeah.
Why don't we? That's the Gene Roddenberry thing. Why don't we believe that there can be peace and overcoming the bullshit and the wars and the pitiful existence and the lack of democracy for good?
Yeah.
And if you have that aim, then your aspirations will go a little bit higher, and you should, in our mind, ask yourself, how do I get to the sponsor? That would.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of course, I will, in my zone of influence, make lives less bad. I once knew this manager at a German telecom company, and she told me that every year she would get from HR, she would get these forms for the performance appraisal of people. Every year, HR would send her the forms at the time in paper, and she told me every year, and she had done that for more 15 years or so, she would go to HR and bring them the forms back and explain to them why she wouldn't do the performance appraisal in her department, which was marketing. Yeah, and it wouldn't change anything. She never got her bonus cut. She never got, intimidated or something. But HR would not learn anything from that exercise.
No.
Every year, the circus. So, can you create an island of happiness? Yes, of course. If you have a reputation and so on, and no problem. Yeah. And if you can create high performance millionaire capsule, you can have an excellent career. Nobody's doubting that this is possible. However, that will not change the world at all. It will just diminish the people's suffering. And remember what you said at the beginning. You understood when you asked the question, put the topic up. You said, there will be boundaries to that capsule, right? You cannot change. That will not change the whole system. So many bullshit practices will be there, but you could shield it up to a certain point. So budgets might not exist. Performance appraisal might not exist within the capsule, but still the question is, so why don't you dare more, right? I would ask that question. No?
Yeah.
Do you? You don't have to. Nobody has to, right?
Yeah.
But that's the invitation to their transformation.
Yeah.
And
everybody deserves it.
Everybody sees, wants beta secretly.
Yeah. Well, and I think this goes back to something I think you also get asked about at all of your keynotes, and that's proof. Proof
it to me.
Proof.
I'm not convinced.
Yeah.
Is there a song?
Proof.
about that. I'm not convinced. Prove it to me.
There's got to be,
Do it to me, baby. No, that's something different. But that's the same, do it to me. Show me you love me.
Yeah.
Just
Don't
say
tell me
love.
you love me. Don't tell
That's
me you
not the
love
same topic, but
me.
it sounds related. Yeah, prove it. Yeah, and then I say, okay, Toyota. I just did.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
move on. Yeah. No?
It
Last
happens.
time-
No, I love it. I love it.
last
I think
Last time we briefly discussed Davita.
yeah.
In your town, in your industry,
It is.
Drew,
Right down the street.
and you shook it off.
And I don't know much about it. That's why I shook it off. I think that's fair. That's it, but I just don't. I don't know.
We are like that. We are.
Yeah, that's
we are
fair.
like that.
Yeah. Okay.
And,
You're calling
I
me
always
out.
say,
You're right. You're right.
No, it's. We don't want to agree. Don't agree with me. Don't agree. Don't dare.
You must.
Don't you
You
dare
must
agree
be
with me.
agreed with quite often because it is. We don't have to agree. We don't have to agree.
Disagree
Yeah.
with me or else.
Yeah. I just like that. Before I agree, I'd like to know what I'm agreeing with. And I just don't feel I have. I disagree. Anyway.
We certainly discussed this topic in another episode of BetaCodex Live about cases and the futility of cases. Not sure which episode it was. Ryan, do you remember that one?
It was, I don't know, I remember it, but I don't
Cases
remember what
do
number
not
it was.
change a thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that goes back to the argument that, okay, if beta existed, which it does, one case would be sufficient to prove that it can exist, that it exists, and that it can work, right? But 1,000 cases of beta do prove it more.
Yep.
Or 10,000. You could always say, but there are a million companies that are alpha, and only 1,000 are beta. That doesn't change a thing, So the quantity of cases, or in your industry or in your country, doesn't change a thing. One case is sufficient. This is scientific logic, right? Scientific.
Reason.
Well, I think I remember from the episode, I remember that conversation about, show me a case. Well, why do you really want to see a case?
Sure,
What is it that you're trying to convince yourself?
Yeah.
Do you really want this? Yeah. What don't you understand about? Yes, this is new. This is different. This is transformation.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it came to a shock to me when I heard about this coal mine case from England from the beginning of the 1960s for the first time. I felt like really stupid because I felt like, oh my God, that's how
was this
old
Eric Trist?
Yeah, the case that Eric Trist, the socio-technical systems movement, discovered. It's well documented. They went there, and it was mere coincidence that somebody indicated that coal mine to them, and then they understood that in this coal mine they were using a different technology, mining technology as well. Nothing secret, really, just a different approach. It's like lean RFS, something like that, a different way of working, a different way of technology, so to speak, and social technology as well. And they had become totally beta in the process of thinking that through and optimizing that model. So these cases have existed for so long. Of course, there are many even older cases for sure that we have forgotten about, that are not that well documented, maybe. But cases are difficult. And all this now the pattern of questioning, Drew, which you started. Okay, first let's discuss: can we do it in just a slice of an organization, and then show me the cases? These are the typical. You said it before, right? These are the typical questions from the back of the room.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Interesting.
Well,
you bring Deloitte or McKinsey, and they'll show you the cases. Why aren't you more like Deloitte and McKinsey? Because I trust them.
Yeah, I mean, Google has OKRs, and they are very successful, so it must work for you, right?
Yeah.
That's how cases work, and I never bought it, and I hope people. I always tell people, yeah, of course I could slap you with a case. But
a briefcase.
No avail.
Yeah.
That sounds like a rap song, right? Yeah.
Slap you with the case to no avail.
I'm gonna have to watch this episode a number of times to create the playlist. Thank you.
Yeah.
Man.
And the cases ultimately that's something I learned. I will repeat this here. The cases, once we mention them, they get abused by the other side. The the person asking to distance themselves. So the next thing will be, oh yeah, they are Japanese. No, they are in that industry. That's very simple business, very simple. And ours, very different. And we have nurses and they only have cars and shit.
Yeah.
So there's always the cases ain't no good, baby. They don't help. They don't
no
help us.
good, you're no good, you're no good, baby, you're no good.
They do not.
It'll never work in America, Niels. It won't work in America.
It won't work. It cannot work here. We are too individualistic and too meritocratic.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again,
some of the best cases are in the United States, right? So
yeah, and it's yeah.
But Drew,
we talk about the definition of meritocracy.
That we have this here. Isn't it interesting, Ryan, that Drew is bringing up all these questions?
Well, sure. It's that you swim in the ocean so long you don't realize that there's water or there's land outside the water. Maybe but I think you can see it. I think you can see. You've been seeing it for a long time. So
I think nothing can substitute the will to transformation. If you don't have the will, you will always struggle. You will always dream about it. And dreaming is doesn't get you anywhere. I think it's amazing how you write about this whole thing, Drew, by the way, because there's this longing in everything you write and how you commented my book as well, for example.
Yeah.
There's so much longing, but I'm not quite sure if there's already the belief that it can work.
Yeah.
Everywhere, right?
Yeah, no, maybe I'm exposed.
That's
you've taken off your clothes.
Yeah.
That's the question between optimizing and transforming. It's in the belief problem, right? Can you believe? Do you believe in life after alpha?
Oh yeah. Sure. I know that one. Yeah, you're right. I think there is a longing to it. And maybe sort of like and maybe from the perspective of an expression of a group of folks that I identify with, more so than maybe a personal belief, right? I think I believe that beta is possible. I do, and you got to find the right opportunity.
Yeah. How many layers of hierarchy to your CEO?
Yeah. 4. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, that can take a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
But you can skip.
Yeah.
Walk in America, it's very open door policy, probably in your organization.
Yeah, exactly.
In Denver, right? Very relaxed. Everybody's very cool.
Yeah, very. Yeah.
Don't you have pot legalized for a long time as well? Didn't you?
It is absolutely has been for a long time.
Everybody's so cool by now, right?
Decade. Yeah. Very chill group of folks.
I'm trying to find Cher here. Sorry.
The song?
Yeah, I'm trying to find Believe. Anyway, so, that would actually would get us blocked in certain regions.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, don't do that. Yeah. That you might have to cut it out later to get it.
Yeah, well, I had that.
No, but yeah. It's I can feel the hesitation, of believing it's possible in my organization with so many layers of hierarchy, so many people that exercise command and control alpha rituals every day, every hour, in meeting rooms and online and whatever. It's everywhere, right? In organizations. So I know the pessimism.
And to be fair, probably informed more so just from like an experience of past workplaces for decades,
But here's a fun fact, Drew. I have met quite a few CEOs who felt the same.
Yeah, I am not surprised.
And I couldn't get them. We couldn't get them with all our methods, with all our interventions. We couldn't quite get them to drop it.
Yep.
So this learned helplessness, it's natural to alpha. That's also something I think that we can.
It's dependency. It's dependent. I mean, it's principle 1. It's connectedness with purpose rather than dependency.
But why would the purpose? Yeah, but why would a CEO feel as equally disempowered as disempowered as some middle manager or no manager, normal folks, employees? That's very interesting, right? For example, in the Beyond Budgeting Roundtable 20 years ago or 18 years ago, when we split, in the Beyond Budgeting Roundtable, we had the problem that we never met CEOs. We couldn't at the time. That was, but I always said, and my mentor Robin Fraser, we said, no, we are choosing not to talk to CEOs. It's not that we cannot meet CEOs. It's we choose. We choose to talk about budgets and finance. So no CEO will invite us because we are boring. We are bringing the wrong language, the language of finance. We'll never get here. We have to talk CEO stuff, business, so to speak, right? Mm-hmm. I can say from the evidence that we kind of mastered that. I mean, I occasionally meet company owners and CEOs, and still they find it extremely hard to accept these notions that we're discussing, right? So it doesn't really make a difference if you are manager or employee or CEO or whatever they are. Interestingly, right? The barrier will still be the same in a way. Do I really want that? Tell me what you want, what you really want. That's what I always tell my clients.
So is it a matter of, the way you described that, the word that came to my mind was daring. That in the Beyond Budgeting Roundtable, you didn't dare talk to the CEOs because, something's going to happen. I would have my reputation ruined, or they would ridicule me.
Yeah, exactly. We are not as smart as people at McKinsey. That was the belief that some of our director colleagues had. I didn't have it, but some of our well-published colleagues, including, they thought that if McKinsey, I heard this in one of our meetings, if McKinsey cannot reach the CEOs of this world, how can we? Poor little fellas that we are. It was one of the most heartbreaking moments in my career. It made me feel hopeless. It made me feel terrible. So we left and started to talk differently. To explain it, word it differently, because that's
comes back to language.
It's a choice. Yeah, it's all a choice of language and patterns and what you talk about and how and why. With what kind of didactics as well, right? Play a big role. What method? No, yes, no. That was all bullshit, Drew. Was it? What I said?
No, I don't think
Convince me.
Yeah. Show me.
I'm not convinced. Convince me.
Show me, show me, show me. That's a Cure song.
Yeah.
How does it continue?
Well, we're going to have a huge playlist after this. Huge playlist. When it's over, it's over. Is it over?
Yeah. Oh my God, the time flies by. Drew, what conclusions?
I think Ryan just said it again, right? The language matters, and I think I'm gonna put myself on a mission here to encourage folks to talk about their transformations as the optimizations that they are. And if you want to talk transformation, then let's sit down and have that conversation when we can talk about working on the system.
Yes. And by the way, you make that invitation beautifully in your writing and on your website, which is, tell us again.
Oh, worthywork.work.
Highly recommended writing, and there's a newsletter where you run your articles through the newsletter, so it's signing up. There's no bullshit, no propaganda on the website as far as I saw. So
no propaganda.
Highly recommended.
No. Yeah. Highly Niels influence. Yeah, exactly.
I still hope that you will contribute stuff to the BetaCodex.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I appreciate coming along, and I think it's what's great about conversations like this that are not happening on LinkedIn is it does offer real learning. And I think being able to ask questions and try ideas, and then to discuss them and hear different perspectives on them helps me gain understanding in what it is that I actually believe, because I think that's not always probably entirely clear as well.
Which is the origin of transformation. Yeah, what we really believe deep inside us. Can we believe that transformation is possible? I think that's the and you certainly do.
Yeah.
From what you
I point to theory X and Y just about every day, so I think it is there.
Yeah, it's the ultimate mind fuck. right?
Yeah.
Theory Y. And
Or
did you
strike
pick up the
3.
book? Did you pick up the book Confronting Our Freedom? I can only recommend it to you. You must read it.
Note
Must.
taken. Note taken.
Yeah. Or else
Confronting Our Freedom by Peter
Or else.
Kostenbaum.
Peter Block and Peter Kestenbaum.
Okay.
Highly recommended. If you read that and if you dig talking about it or any other topic, we will be happy to have you back.
I can't wait to come back. I look forward to it.
Yeah, you just have to make a suggestion. I think we have we will have no hesitation to set up another date with you. Ryan, any kind words to us, the audience, to yourself, or learnings that you want to share or insight?
The learnings, what I come out here from today, the playlist, I can make the playlist, and I am going to add to the playlist. So we don't have to take our clothes off to have a good time, but
That's
yes,
a song?
we do. Yeah, we don't have to take our clothes off.
Is that really a song?
Time. Yes, of course.
Oh, okay. I don't know it.
But in beta we do. So if you're ready.
Very nice, very nice.
All right.
Good.
Last word for me before I go take you guys off stage and go blah 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 to the people out there. All right, and there's probably a song for that too. All right, gentlemen, we'll see you the next time around. Now I have the power and authority to take them off the stage. Be well. Thank you for the precious gift of your time and attention. And of course, as always, be more beta and get naked.